Hey, one of the definitions and the way Moe described his swing, his backswing was in and then up. We're going to talk about the up part of the backswing. So one of the things that I've been doing throughout my career in teaching the single plane swing of Moe Norman is defining exactly what Moe would say he did in his swing and what was actually going on. And you know, if you know me, I've dug into this beyond the level of just anecdotally trying to interpret it, but also going into 3D labs and studying the golf swing and looking at positions and motion and actually measuring things. I'm a data guy, I'm a measurable guy, I like measurables. That's why when I practice, I'm always, well, there's types of practice, but when I'm working on my technique, I'm always using cameras and video because I want to make sure that I'm measuring and getting it correct, so I'm practicing correctly. I think that alone in my practice has helped me more than anything is knowing what I'm looking for on video and practicing it correctly will speed up the learning process. But things that Moe said in his swing are hard to interpret. Whether he talks about his hand position, his club position, and one of the things he always talked about was how his swing felt in and up. And that is actually a correct definition of the in and upward motion, but people get it wrong. And here's what they get wrong about it, is there's an inward motion, and I'm going to describe the inward motion, which we call position one, but you know, I don't want to get into all these positions because it's a motion that's happening and the body is basically moving and the hands are moving and arms are moving. But the upward motion people tend to get wrong. And it's because they move their arms up as opposed to just letting the club come up with their hands. It's more of a hands up than it is an arms up. Let me describe it. So this is the way Moe would describe his swing. It's an inward motion, which makes a lot of sense because you're just turning everything together. And there's that width and that inward motion. Beautiful move in the golf swing where everything turns together around that trail leg. So there's the inward motion. Then there's an upward motion. And where people get it wrong is they tend to lift their arms up. And so now the hands go above the plane quite a bit. And so now it's hard to get the club on plane because as you try to sequence that, the hands are outside and you may cut across it. There's a different way to take the club in the upward motion in the backswing. So here's what Moe is actually describing. It's an inward motion, but it's a folding up of the trail arm. So I want to call it kind of a just to let the arm fold up. So it goes inward, and then it folds up. And notice how the club is on a lower plane. It's on the plane right here better than an arm lift. So in and up is just an upward motion of the arms. Now, one of the things that's critically about going up, and I talk a lot about this in motion, is in order for something to move correctly, it has to have an isolation thing to it. In other words, watch my trail shoulder. So I'm moving in, and then when I go up, my trail shoulder doesn't move a whole lot. See my trail shoulder, it's not moving, but my lead shoulder is moving in that motion. Watch my lead shoulder, it is moving in that motion. So this one can move, this one's kind of isolated. Well, then you're getting this dynamic kind of motion of the arms, which is beautiful for sequence because what you're seeing is torso rotation. There's that first move is torso and pelvis rotation. That's why the knee comes in. Sometimes the foot will slightly lift, so I'm fine with that. So you got this nice rotation inward. Then you have this upward motion of the arms because the trail arm is folding. It's not a lifting of the arms. And watch the right shoulder will get more isolated, barely moves, and this left shoulder comes up. So that's the in and up motion Moe was talking about. But I want you to understand that there's one thing that I'm not doing here that some people teach, is they talk a lot about torso rotation as being a big part of this. Of course, there's torso rotation, but let me give you a little definition to it. Again, measurables. When Moe was at the top of his backswing, and if you put a sensor on his torso, and he took him to the top of his backswing, he had 80 degrees of torso rotation. So he had a positive 15, he went to a minus 80. So you got about 90 to 95 degrees of total torso turn, which is 90 degrees of rotation. However, what I see people do is they overturn their bodies. So they get too much rotation in the backswing, and then their arms go around them, and then they have to lift their arms as well. Let me give you some numbers here, just so you understand this. And by the way, every one of my golf schools, I discuss these numbers because I want people to understand that what they feel they're doing and what they're actually doing are very different, and there's measurables that you can put in place for this. So at address, my torso is actually open, even though my shoulders appear closed. This is where you get in that debate. The shoulders appear to be closed. You would say, Todd, your shoulders are closed. But if I do this and I drop my arms, notice my shoulder's no longer closed, and I haven't moved my torso one bit. My torso's open, but front of my arms is actually closed. I don't call this the shoulders. This is the scapula here in my back versus the front of the arms are very different. Again, this is just biophysics. But watch now. So when I take this back, I'm talking torso rotation. When I'm right here into this position, my torso has gone from a open about 10 to 15 degrees plus to about 50. So you have about 50 degrees or more of rotation in that first move. Over half of your rotation occurs from here to here. So here I am at address, half the rotation occurs, 2/3 really, because you got 50 plus 15, 65. And then you got this rest of the motion to get to 90, see that? So you go in and then up. And I guess my point to this is that that second part, there's not a ton of torso rotation in that second part. It's mostly arm movement. So I always interpret it like this. Lots of movement, not so much movement, arm movement. So lots of torso, there's everything together, arms and hands. And I blend that together, lots of movement, arms and hands, and then I'll hit a shot, and you'll kind of see it now in that sequence. So it's lots of movement, arms and hands, stabilize, lots of movement, arms and hands. That's kind of kinematic sequence for you in a nutshell. Hope that helps you understand that it's not a winding up of the body. It's a rotation, upward movement of the hands and arms, stabilize, and then return that club down. Again, I'm a measurable guy. I like knowing exactly what's going on. That way I can obviously help you understand exactly what Moe Norman was doing in his golf swing. Hey, if you like the Moe Norman content and want to learn more about the single plane swing and how easy it is, click the bell icon, subscribe to the channel, give me a thumbs up, and I'll see you in the next video.